launch. Of course, cryogenic tanking, a complex operation that has seen some delays tonight. We had a roughly hour delay after a replenish valve on the core stage liquid hydrogen side required hands-on work by a red crew team that went out to the launch pad and tightened down some bolts on the valve and got it fixed before leaving the launch pad, and then launch team verifying that that work was complete. Now currently we're awaiting some work with the range. The 45th Space Wing, which oversees the range here, makes sure that the airspace and the ocean out over the flight path is clear, and also has the responsibility to destruct the rocket should it go off track. They have been working on some issues with their equipment and sending a flight termination signal to the rocket. There's testing that must happen with the flight termination system that was delayed by a bad Ethernet switch. Switch has been changed out, and now the range is looking to start testing their connectivity to the rocket in order to.
我觉得我的网络问题应该已经解决了。
你开一下。
So again, we are slipping now.
我重新开了一个新的直播。我觉得现在音轨什么的应该是都解决了。
Get this rocket ready to launch.
OK， 要把你这个抛出去了。
We'll report that out right away.
有人加一点人，稍微有人聊聊也好。
Thank you so much. As NASA prepares to explore the moon, here's a look at the spacesuits and tools that will help us to do that.
又开始看 space suits 了。
Watching Apollo footage of astronauts doing geology on the surface of the moon is a really great way to think about preparing for Artemis, for putting people on the lunar surface once again. We learn a lot in how they did science operations on the moon and what it's like to work on the moon. You see them doing geology. You see them taking rock samples, putting in a drive tube to take a core sample. You see them bouncing along the surface of the moon on the lunar rover that they used in Apollo 15 through 17. So it's a great way to help drive technology development for the next generation of spacesuits and geology sampling.
他刚才说法的反正就是还没有决定要多少时间才能继续，对吧？就是说还是要想一想。 剩下的工作大概需要花多少时间？然后就说，因为现在在接下来一个步骤应该是发射前15分钟的投票的，然后那个投票安排到什么时候，他们再决定一下，大概是这样的情况。刚才的播报我听下来好像这样的意思，大概最重要的来说，对吧？
volcanic landscapes or places that are analogous to the lunar surface to train them on the skill and fidelity of science that you just can't recreate in these facilities.
And so by combining this classroom and field training, we're able to prep them for
可能是有一点卡，我不知道为什么它这个上传不是很稳定。
that we have that we hope to address with the Artemis
on it that it needs explored. This is a place that we've never been before. There's so much to be learned from getting boots on the ground and exploring a unique place that challenges us as humans and also helps us develop technologies that make our everyday life that much better.
We think there might be volatiles present at the South Pole. By using these volatiles, we'll be able to do things like create drinking water, create rocket fuel to launch astronauts back to Earth. And so by harnessing the power of the land, we'll be able to help astronauts establish that long-term sustainable presence.
It's human nature to explore. Pushing our boundaries and exploring our universe is, I think, just one of those things that's just stuck in our human nature, and that we need to do it in order to understand the world around us, including our Earth and our solar system.
We just heard there how curiosity is just a part of us. So, with that in mind, why don't we do some social questions? Because some people are very curious to hear what you have to say about their questions. So why don't we pull up the first question here? What are your thoughts on the responsibilities that come with going to space? Obviously, a question for you. I am not going to space.
我这边它 OBS 好像有个
The
自动连线
opportunity to
YouTube 的一个
travel
插
to
件，能
space
直接看到聊天。
comes with a lot of responsibility.
但是
I
好像
think
还
for
没有
all of
看
us,
到
it's a
有
huge
人
honor
发
to
消
be a
息。
part of these teams, and the work we're
对，还
doing
没有
is so
太少
critical
了。
in supporting
估计才
scientific
刚加
discovery
进。
on the ground. So on the International Space Station, we're a national laboratory. Our crew executed over 350 different
wow.
scientific experiments during our 6-month mission. And so when you think about that, it's years of work to get one of these payloads or an experiment on the space station. And sometimes that's someone's life's work you're holding in your hands and executing.
我
And
是
so being
调了2倍
prepared
速
for
快
those
进，把
moments
它的
is
那个
really
缓冲
important,
全
and
部
understanding how to bring the
全
team
部榨干，
around into
然后
solving
就是最
complex
快乐的。
problems. We take that really,
这种做
really
法。
seriously.
是
And of course, we
就是
want to
你右键
share
你
what
会
that
看到它有一
experience
个
is
那
like. Only a
个
few people have been able to
delay
go to
还是什么，
space.
就是那
And as we
个
commercialize space,
我
as
看一下
low Earth
buffer
orbit becomes more accessible, that'll change. But still, it's only available to some of us. So we really want to
对
share what
buffer
that's
health 和
like
live
and the
latency，你
perspective
如
we
果
gain
点
from
了
our
快
time up
进的
there.
话，就可以
It's
把
really
那个
great
东
to
西
see
基
and
本上
hear that you
降
guys
到
acknowledge that,
降
right?
到
Like
零。
that this experiment that you're
一般
holding,
不太可能
you're
降到
working
零
on for 6 months.
就
Somebody
是
has been working
你
on
右
it
键
literally for
详细
years.
存
And
档
I talked to
右键
some
一开始的
scientists
就
and they're saying,
是
oh,
视
this has
频
been my life's
就
work,
是你
20
进
years
就是
of
那
my
个视频
life's
播
work.
放
So,
器的那个
so
界
yeah,
面
that
里
was a
面，
really good question.
油管里
I like
面
that question a lot.
对，
Okay,
然后
we
有
have
一个
another
右
one from
键
social media
右键
here.
播放那
Astro
个
Kayla,
信
have
息
you。considered what you
详
might
细统计信
say
息，
if you
然
had the
后
opportunity to be
你
the
要是那
first
个什么，你
female
要
to
是
set foot on the lunar
选了
surface?
那个什么就是
No, I have
就是你会
not.
看到那个 live latency 和那个 health buffer。
If I was in
然
that role,
后
it's something I would take
如果
really
你点了快进，
seriously.
比
I
如说
think
1.5
the
倍快进
iconic
或2倍
words
快进，
Neil
懂 懂
Armstrong, you know,
懂
one
意思。
small step
它就
for
会减
man,
少，
one
就
giant
这个
leap
意思。
for mankind are something that we all know, whether you witnessed that moment or not, or it happened
因为
before
有的时候
your
它
born.
延
I
迟
think
这
we
个
all
就
have that.
That we'll have to
懂
think
了。
about that
Yeah,
one for
exactly.
sure.
学到了，今天真的学到了。还有
Okay,
这种
let's
操
see
作。
another question here. Oh, why is the
真的很
spacesuit
管用，很
orange
管
in
用。
color?
That's an awesome question that I wish I knew the
Yeah,
answer
you're
to. Megan and I were
talking
actually talking about that earlier when we had Snoopy up here.
sorry,
It's a
I was so
continuation of the same suit that we used during the shuttle era. And I was kind of hypothesizing that maybe it's to help forces if for some reason when we landed in the water we had to get out of the capsule for some reason it would be easy to see us.
这边的更新也不错了。
But that I'm gonna have to take
这
a
个
photo
不
friend
太
on
他的意思可
what
能
would
那
you board them yet, but a lot of them already do have.
等一下，等一下，我就是 Discord 我听不清楚你说刚才在说什么的，你那边应该是没什么问题。Discord 充连一下可能。
不是不是，我这边整个网都有点卡。
Artemis mission, so a lot of them are already named and mapped.
我看看有什么改善措施啊，不好意思。我刚才想说就是，刚刚想说就是那个什么。就是你如果是窄窗口的发射，就是你发射上去以后，它可能会那个什么，就是它会要求你必须非常短的时间之内就要做出姿态调整，或者说做出机动点火。但是我觉得发射月球应该不是一个窄窗口的，因为你打上去之后还要在轨道上滑行的，它这个应该是在轨道设计里面都有考虑的，因为它是有个2次点火的，最关键是因为有个2次点火，而且第2次点火的这个时机是很可能容易度是比较大的。
enable us to do. So there's actually something called the Prime-1 mining experiment, and that's going to robotically look for ice and other resources below the lunar surface. 轨道越高的话，就是它的可调余地越大。有缺火是这个意思。
NASA's first polar
对，
resources
因为
ice mining
它是相当于是跟月球去进行一个交汇。然后实际上的话，因为月球运动速度比较慢，应该说这个窗口是相对比较大。
Thanks to data from spacecraft orbiting the moon, scientists believe that the polar regions contain water ice in the form of ice just below the surface. Prime-1 will land near the Shackleton crater to drill into the lunar soil in an area that could contain water ice. Prime-1 is made up of 2 instruments, Trident, the regolith and ice drill for exploring new terrain, and M-SOLO, for observing lunar operations. M-SOLO is a commercial off-the-shelf mass spectrometer modified for spaceflight. It will evaluate the chemical elements and compounds released from the lunar soil.
Expect when we launch for this first day.
我刚才在那个什么，我减小一下分辨率。
Hey, thanks, Megan. Everybody, welcome back.
把码率降一下，我看能不能改善一下这个问题。
I just heard a woohoo. People are getting in and out because we have a great view of launch when it's going to happen, and it's going to happen today. But that launch is just the first step in the Artemis-1 mission. So let's look at what's ahead for this historic first flight. As we just said, launch is step number 1. Those 4 RS-25 engines. throttle up, followed shortly after by the 2 solid rocket boosters igniting, sending out SLS and Orion skyward. Now on our way uphill, we'll have a number of jettison events. You'll be able to see things coming off of the SLS rocket. One of the most visual ones will be these 2 solid rocket boosters. Now they'll expend their propellant over 2 minutes into the flight. They will separate. We'll see them flare off.
把马力调低了一点，刚才是1000马力，好像就触发了某种阈值。
We're also going to see the launch abort system come off the top. Once you get high enough in the atmosphere, it's no longer required. You could actually do aborts using engines on Orion and its service module. I will also note that on the launch abort system, it's got those 3 solid rocket motors. The jettison motor is active. The abort and the attitude ones are not for this flight. We don't have people, so we're not flying a fully active abort system. We also have 3 fairings that are there to protect Orion.
主要是那个于老师那边他遇到一些技术问题，他现在在国内，所以比较难弄，所以这边现在是漩涡我这边在弄。
Main engines will hear MECO, main engine cutoff. Those engines will shut down, the core stage will separate, drop away. It's eventually going to splash down in the ocean. And that hands over the propulsion duties to this, our upper stage, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage, or ICPS. Its first job is to execute what's known as the perigee raise maneuver. So the perigee is the lowest part of your orbit. You have a perigee that's your low part, and the apogee that's your highest point. We're going to raise up the perigee, and that's going to actually put us in a nice circular path around the planet.
于老师，你那边有录播就行了。
你有录播都丢了。